So our problem states this. Suppose that in a right triangle you're given one angle which is equal to 57 degrees and the hypotenuse is a length of 20 units. Find the remaining side lengths and the remaining angles. So I went ahead and drawn a picture here representing that. If you'll notice, I went ahead and stated that the hypotenuse was going to be C because anytime we're using the Pythagorean Theorem, the hypotenuse is C. So I need to figure out what the adjacent and the opposite sides are. So to do that, I'm going to go back to my trigonometric functions. Now I can either use sine or cosine. I just chose to use cosine. It doesn't make any difference. So I know this. The cosine of 57 degrees is going to be equal to our adjacent over our hypotenuse. I'm going to go ahead and make a note that my adjacent side is going to be A. So we'll say this is going to be A over 20. So what I want to do now is I'm going to solve this thing for A. So to solve this thing for A, since A is divided by 20, to undo division, I'm going to multiply both sides by 20. Which is going to cancel out the 20 on the right side. So I'm left with 20 times the cosine of 57 degrees. Is equal to A. And if we punch that in on the calculator and round that off to the nearest hundredth, we end up with 10.89 is equal to A. So we can come up here and actually go ahead and put that value in. We know that this is going to be 10.89. Now, there's a couple ways that I can go around and figure out what my adjacent side, or excuse me, my opposite side is going to be, which I'm going to go ahead and call B. I'm going to take the easy route. I'm going to go ahead and use the Pythagorean Theorem. So I know, according to the Pythagorean Theorem, A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So I've got A and C. So all we got to do is solve for B. So I'm going to have 10.89 squared plus B squared is equal to 20 squared. And if I go ahead and solve this thing for B squared, I get that B squared is going to be equal to 20 squared minus 10.89 squared. And then to finish solving for B, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Now we didn't have to do all of this in one step, but it makes our calculations a little bit prettier. We're not rounding as many times. So if we punch this in on the calculator, doing square root of 20 squared minus 10.89 squared, we end up with the square root of 281.4079. And if I go ahead and take the square root of that, we get B equals 16.78. So we know that our opposite side is going to be 16.78. And then of course finding the other angle is actually the easiest part. To find the angle, we know that a triangle has 180 degrees. We already have two of the measurements here. We know that one angle is going to be 57 degrees, and since this is a right triangle, we know that the other angle has to be 90 degrees. So if I add those two values together, the 57 and the 90 degrees, and subtract that from 180 degrees, we end up with the angle that's left over is 33 degrees. And we have solved this triangle problem.